Kazakhstan sits in a position most countries would find impossible to manage. It shares the world's second longest continuous land border with Russia, stretching over 7,500 kilometers. To its east lies China, the second largest economy on Earth. To the west, Kazakhstan maintains growing ties with the United States and Europe, both crucial for its energy exports and security partnerships. Balancing these three competing powers is not a choice, it's survival. Russia remains Kazakhstan's traditional partner. The two nations are bound by Soviet history, a shared Russian-speaking population inside Kazakhstan, and overlapping defense commitments through the Collective Security Treaty Organization, or CSTO. Moscow controls many of the pipelines that carry Kazakh oil to global markets, including the vital Caspian pipeline to the Black Sea. This makes Russia an unavoidable partner, but it also makes Kazakhstan vulnerable. Every time Russia's relations with the West collapse, as with the invasion of Ukraine, Kazakhstan risks becoming collateral damage. China, on the other hand, offers an alternative. Beijing is already Kazakhstan's largest trading partner, importing vast amounts of oil, gas, and minerals. Kazakhstan is also central to China's Belt and Road Initiative. Rail corridors from China to Europe cut directly across its territory. For Beijing, Kazakhstan is the gateway to the West. For Astana, China represents both an opportunity for growth and a silent challenge to sovereignty. Cheap loans and infrastructure projects bring investment, but they also risk tying Kazakhstan too closely to Chinese interests, something ordinary Kazakhs view with skepticism, given historical tensions over Xinjiang and fears of economic domination. The West enters this picture differently. Unlike Russia and China, it does not share a border with Kazakhstan, but it plays a decisive role in its economic independence. Western companies, especially from the US and Europe, are the largest investors in Kazakhstan's energy sector. Chevron, ExxonMobil, and Shell have poured billions into oil fields like Tengiz and Kashagan. The European Union has become one of Kazakhstan's top energy customers, especially as Europe seeks to reduce its reliance on Russian gas. For Kazakhstan, these partnerships are more than business, they're a hedge. Western investment provides the capital and technology that neither Russia nor China fully offer, while also ensuring that Astana cannot be easily isolated. The war in Ukraine has pushed this balancing act into sharper focus. Kazakhstan has refused to recognize Russia's annexation of Ukrainian territory. It has quietly tightened control over sanctioned goods flowing across its borders, wary of being caught in secondary sanctions from the West. Yet at the same time, Astana cannot afford an open break with Moscow. Millions of ethnic Russians still live in northern Kazakhstan, and Kremlin officials have at times hinted at territorial claims. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev walks a fine line defying Russia just enough to preserve sovereignty, but never enough to provoke retaliation. China has seized the moment to expand its influence. President Xi Jinping chose Kazakhstan for his first foreign trip after the pandemic, a symbolic gesture signaling Beijing's commitment. Chinese financing continues to build roads, pipelines, and railways that connect Kazakhstan to markets far beyond Russia. But Kazakh leaders tread carefully. Public sentiment toward China is often negative, with protests erupting over land sales or suspicions of Chinese encroachment. This forces Astana to balance Chinese money with visible partnerships from Europe and the United States, reassuring its population that it is not trading one dependency for another. What truly defines Kazakhstan's foreign policy is its concept of multi-vector diplomacy. Unlike smaller states that fall fully under one power's orbit, Kazakhstan has made a strategy of maintaining open channels with all sides. It participates in Russian-led organizations like the CSTO and Eurasian Economic Union. At the same time, it is an active member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization with China. And on the western side, it partners with NATO under the Partnership for Peace framework and maintains close ties with the EU. This deliberate diversification prevents any one power from having full leverage over Kazakhstan's choices. Energy geography reinforces this need for balance. Kazakhstan is landlocked. Every barrel of oil, every ton of uranium, every shipment of grain must cross someone else's territory. To the north lies Russia's transit system. To the east, Chinese pipelines and rail links. To the west, the Caspian Sea route toward Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey, which then connects to Europe. No single corridor is risk-free. By developing all of them at once, Kazakhstan ensures that no outside power can completely choke its economy. Domestically, this balancing act resonates deeply. Kazakhstan's population is split between those who lean toward Russia, often Russian-speaking urban groups in the north, and those who see their future tied to Turkic identity and greater integration with Asia. The younger generation increasingly values connections to the West, drawn by education, technology, and cultural influence. By keeping ties with all three blocs, Astana reflects the divided but pragmatic nature of its own society. Yet this balance is not without risks. If Russia grows weaker and more isolated, Kazakhstan may face increased pressure to take sides. If China pushes harder for dominance, resentment could spill into domestic unrest. And if the West demands stronger alignment on sanctions relations and democracy, Astana may struggle to comply without triggering blowback from Moscow or Beijing. What makes Kazakhstan remarkable is not that it balances, but that it has succeeded so far. It is one of the few post-Soviet states that has maintained stability, avoided outright alignment, and continued to attract investment despite crises on its borders. Its geography gives it no choice. Its leadership has turned that geography into a deliberate strategy, one that requires constant recalibration, careful diplomacy, and the willingness to say no without saying it too loudly. Kazakhstan's future will depend on how long it can sustain this multi-vector approach. The war in Ukraine, the rise of China, and the shifting priorities of the West will all test it. But as long as Astana can convince Moscow it is a loyal partner, reassure Beijing it is a reliable neighbor, and persuade the West it is an independent player, Kazakhstan will continue to survive balanced delicately between giants.